In today's video, I'm going to show you what nobody tells multi-unit franchise operators who are still in growth mode and why the season you're in right now is the most valuable wealth building window of your entire ownership journey. And it's not because you need to open more locations, but because the decisions you make while you're growing determine whether you walk away with real personal freedom or just a bigger portfolio that comes with more taxes than you expected, less income than you planned for, and a lifestyle that doesn't match what you build all of this for. If you're new to my channel, hi, I'm Rosanna Queenan, a chartered financial analyst and founder Queenvest. And through working with multi-unit operators who were growing fast and hitting every milestone industry told them to hit, I've discovered that the ones who built real wealth did it quietly. Not by growing more, but by building something personal and untouchable alongside the business while everyone else was chasing the next location. And that's exactly why I'm making this video today, to show you what's actually happening to your wealth while you're focused on your units, why nobody in the franchise world is telling you this, and the 5 things you need to start doing right now so that when the brand changes, private equity restructures, or the market shifts, you're the operator with the income, the lifestyle, and the freedom you actually did build this for. But make sure you watch till the end, because I'm going to walk you through a real conversation I had with an operator who won an award the same night he told me privately that none of it was adding up. And I'll show you exactly what the operators who avoided this situation did differently. So let's get into it. I want to start with a story, a real conversation I had at a franchise conference not long ago. I was at the reception after the general session, the kind of evening where everyone's still riding the energy from the room and the keynote speaker. And I walked over to congratulate an operator who just won an award for unit growth. His name was Ryan. "Congrats on your award, Ryan," I said. He smiled, said thank you, and then after a moment, almost like he needed to say it to someone, he said, "Between you and me, I don't know what I'm doing all of this for anymore." That stopped me because 20 minutes earlier, this man had been on stage. People were standing up for him at his table. And here he was, drink in hand, telling me something wasn't adding up. He wasn't broke or failing. The business was actually growing. The numbers looked right. But somewhere between location 3 and location 9, the freedom he'd pictured when he started had gotten further away, not closer. He had more units, but it came with more debt. He had more people depending on him and more calls he couldn't ignore. He felt trapped by the very business he'd built. And when he stopped to look at what he actually had to show for it personally, the number was nowhere close to what he'd expected. Ryan had built something real. He just built it all in one place. Ryan's story isn't unique. I hear versions of this constantly. And what I've come to understand is that it's not a personal failure. It's not a discipline problem. And it's not that Ryan wasn't smart or didn't work hard enough. Ryan was one of the most operationally disciplined operators I'd met. But here is what actually happened to him. The franchise world is extraordinarily good at one thing, telling you exactly what to do with your business. Open the next locations, hit your AUV targets, optimize your labor, reinvest, grow. Repeat. There is an entire ecosystem built around that message. Your franchisor, your lender, your area developer, the conference you attend every year, all of them are pulling in the same direction. More units, bigger portfolio, faster growth. And not one of them is sitting down with you and saying, what are you building for yourself while all of this is happening? So operators do what makes sense given the information in front of them. Every dollar the business generates has somewhere obvious to go. The next lease, the next build out, the next hire. The reinvestment case is always urgent, always concrete, always right there. The case for pulling money out and putting it somewhere the business can touch, somewhere that grows quietly in the background regardless of what your franchisor decides next quarter, that case never gets made. Not by anyone with a seat at your table. And so most operators end up exactly where Ryan ended up, a growing portfolio, a life that feels smaller than it should, and a personal net worth that doesn't reflect a decade of hard work. That's not an accident. Listen, that's what happens when you only build your business and ignore your personal wealth. But here is another story. A few weeks ago, I was running a breakout session at another franchise event, maybe 30 operators in the room, and a woman at the table nearest to me said something that made everyone stop. She said, completely matter of fact, I'm at 4 million in personal net worth. My goal is 7. Just like that. Like she was talking about her open unit count. She had fewer units than Ryan, but she had way more in terms of financial security than Ryan had ever built. I'll call her Michelle. And Michelle is what I've come to think of as a quietly wealthy franchisee. You won't always find her on stage. She's not the operator with the most locations or the loudest growth story, but she's the one building something that the brand can't restructure, private equity can touch, and a market shift cannot take away. I work with operators like Michelle for years, and what I've noticed is they share 5 specific habits, and they're not complicated ones or nothing is secret in what they do, but there are just these 5 things they do consistently that most operators around them never do at all. So this is what Michelle does and what all quietly wealthy franchises do as well. The number one thing, she has a personal number, and it has nothing to do with her unit count. And it's not a portfolio valuation and not what the business might be worth if she sold tomorrow. It's a specific personal wealth target that exists completely outside the business. For her, it's 4 million working towards 7. For you, it could be something different. But she said it out loud like it was already real, because to her, it was. Most operators have a unit goal count, a revenue target, an AUV they're chasing, but they carry a vague picture of personal wealth, something like, I'll be set when the business is worth enough. The problem is that vague never becomes real. And the operators who reach their unit target and still feel financially uncertain almost always had the same thing in common. They never defined what enough actually looked like for them personally. So pick a number and make it specific and make it personal and let it be the filter every other financial decision runs through. The second thing that Michelle does really well, she keeps her personal financial life completely separate from her business. She has different accounts for everything, even different advisors, and also different scorecards. Most operators blur this line completely. Distributions flow straight into lifestyle. The business account and the personal account bleed together. And because everything is tangled, there is never a clear picture of either one. The quietly wealthy franchisee knows her personal net worth at any given moment. Not what the business is worth, what she is worth personally. That separation is what makes the personal number trackable and growable. And it's what makes everything else on the list possible. The third habit that builds quiet wealth. Michelle moves a consistent percentage of profit outside the business every single month before anything else. And it's not what's left over. I'll have my revenue, I'll have my expenses, and what's left over I save. It's the other way around. Before the reinvestment conversation even starts, a portion of her profit is put away to reach her personal number. And here's what the data actually shows about franchisee income. According to Franchise Business Research across nearly 38,000 franchisees, 41% of food franchise operators, for example, earn less than $50,000 a year. Only 15%, the top performers, earn more than $250,000. And 80% of franchisees report lower earnings last year than the year before, driven by inflation, rising labor costs, and brand fee increases they couldn't control. The income curve flattens fast. Adding more units adds complexity and debt service that eats into the margin. You can't outgrow the compression by opening more locations. Meanwhile, $5,000 moved outside the business every month at a 10% annual return builds over $1 million in just 10 years. Keep going for 20 years and that becomes nearly 4 million. 30 years, over 11 million. The compounding doesn't move in a straight line. It accelerates. The same amount that built 1 million in the first decade builds 7.5 million more in the next 2. It's not a retirement strategy. That's a parallel wealth engine that doesn't require opening a single additional location. Michelle treats that monthly transfer like rent. It moves first, every month without exception. She started when she had almost nothing to move, and she never stopped. The fourth habit for Michelle, she makes 1 or 2 consistent moves to build assets outside the business. These aren't 10 strategies, and it's not a complicated portfolio. It's just 1 or 2 things she does consistently that compound quietly in the background while the business runs. It's the real estate she owns personally, and a retirement account structured specifically for business owners, which most operators massively underutilize. A diversified investment portfolio that has nothing to do with her brand, her franchisor, or her industry. The specific vehicle matters less than the principle. She's building something that generates income whether or not her units are open tomorrow. Something the business can't touch and the brand can't reach. And she started early, not after her growth phase, not after the exit, but she started while she was still in it because she understood that there is no after. There is only while, and it's now. And finally, her fifth habit. She tracks the number that actually matters, and it's not her P&L. This is the one most operators never do, and it's the most important one on the list. The franchise world teaches you to obsess over your business scorecard, your labor percentages, your food costs, same-store sales growth, royalty rate. Those numbers matter for running the business, but not one of them tells you whether you're actually building personal wealth. Most operators who feel financially stuck aren't stuck because their business metrics are bad. They're stuck because they've been measuring the wrong scorecard for years. The business looks fine, the P&L looks fine, but the personal wealth scorecard, the one nobody in the franchise world even asked them to build, is almost empty. The quietly wealthy franchisee keeps 2 scorecards. The industry built one for them for you. The other one you have to build yourself. Michelle reviews her personal net worth quarterly, specifically with the same discipline she brings to her unit economics. Ryan had only 1 scorecard. Michelle had both. I think about the conversation with Ryan a lot. He wasn't at the end of his story. He was in the middle of it. And the middle is exactly the right place to change how you're building. The compounding that works in a retirement account works the same way in every other investment vehicle. Time is the variable that matters most. And most operators in growth mode have more of it than they think. They just haven't started using it for the second thing yet. Ryan had built something real and hard-won. The award definitely wasn't wrong, and it was deserved. The work behind it wasn't wasted. He just built it in one place. What I wanted to tell him, and I want to tell you, is that the business you're building right now is working. The question is whether anything else is working alongside it, whether there is a second thing growing quietly in the background while you focus on the first. The franchise world will keep celebrating your unit count. Private equity will keep optimizing for their exit. The brand will keep making decisions that protect the system first. None of that is going to change. What can change, however, is what you're building for yourself while all of that is happening around you. Before you close this video, I want to ask you one question. Do you have a personal number and a real path to get there? If the answer is yes, I want to hear about it. Drop it in the comments. And if the answer is no, or if you're not sure, click the link in the description to book a call. We'll talk about what that building your personal wealth actually looks like alongside the business you're already growing. That's the conversation Ryan wished somebody had started with him earlier. It doesn't have to wait for you. I'll see you in the next video.